Hello, and welcome to the Core Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, and this is episode 3. This is episode 3. All right. So, today's episode will be centered around perspective and being open-minded. I've got a lot of questions noted down in regards to those two subjects or two topics, and yeah, these are questions I feel like people would ask, and kind of I kind of answer it and give my take on what I believe it is, and my experience with it as well. My experience with perspective and my experience with being open-minded. And yeah, like there's a huge list of questions, so I'm not really I'll read it out like along the episode, like as we go on. But yeah, okay. With that being said and done, let's get right into this. So, two questions. I'll be going through the questions in pairs. So yeah. So what is perspective, and what is being open-minded? Now, there are two really interesting things, and they both go hand in hand, essentially. Yeah. So in the general sense, perspective is just the way that you look at something. It could be the way that you look at an experience, the way that you look at a situation, at a circumstance, or an object, right? You could be looking at an object from a different angle, and a lot of people have different perspectives because their experiences shape the way that they look at certain things. Their experiences shape their opinions and shape their point of view in life, and yeah, like that's the kind of general idea with perspective, and yeah, kind of what it means, right? All right, now what is being open-minded? Now, being open-minded, it's essentially like being willing to consider or willing to accept ideas or perspectives from other people, or opinions, or it could be a lot of different things, right? Being open-minded is yeah, like the willingness to accept and consider like different experiences, and yeah, like being willing to consider something that's outside of your comfort zone or outside your familiar territory in a sense. And yeah, being willing to accept that and being willing to even consider that. That's kind of what it means to be open-minded. Um, all right, now second pair of questions. What does it mean to have perspective in life, and what does it mean to be open-minded? Um, like generally for me as a person, having perspective, it's to look at different circumstances and situations in life, and yeah, like being able to look at them from different points of view and not like viewing everything in your own lens, in your own ways of looking at life. Because I feel like that way you can get a better understanding of certain things. You can get a better understanding of a situation, a better understanding of a person, and where people are coming from in terms of like their opinion, their experiences, and yeah, like a lot of different things. Now, what does it mean to be open-minded? It's very similar to like what is being open-minded in that question. Same answer, really. But yeah, like for me, what it meant was, yeah, like that willingness to accept the way that people are, and the willingness to consider even like a lot of different things, like the way I act, the way I conduct my life, and accepting like criticism, and or not accepting criticism. Like there's a lot of different like things that is part of like all of this. Like it's like the meaning of perspective, the meaning of being open-minded. Um and yeah, like it's a really like a super super deep thing. Um and yeah, I absolutely feel like it's uh essential in life, just so that we're not limited to ourselves and limited to the way that we view certain things. Um just so we can kind of get a sense of clarity, and we can have insight from other people and other people's experiences, because you never know, like someone might have experienced exactly what it is that you're going through. And yeah, sometimes you need advice, right? And you'd much rather take advice, or at least want advice, from someone that's experienced it than someone that hasn't. So yeah, and that kind of goes with being open-minded, like being willing to consider their advice, or and accept their advice. And yeah, like a whole bunch of different things. And okay, so the next little bit of questions: why is perspective and being open-minded important? Now for me, I absolutely see it as really really important. um I just feel like there's not too much of it happening. There's not too much of people looking outside of their box, like of life, right? Like people would only see life as a box, and the box that they're in, and not looking at it from like a different point of view, where someone else's life could be, horrendous. And you look at someone else's life like, oh man, like that's a terrible life. I'm thankful that I'm living this life and living this way. And then it can go like the opposite way, where you'd see someone super fortunate and like that has everything, and kind of want that kind of life. But then yeah, like it could be kind of something like negative, right, where it turns into like jealousy. I'm like, oh man, like I want that, and whatever, like it can turn into something negative. um but yeah, you got to be careful with that, like making comparisons like that. But yeah, there's a lot of self-reflection involved with all of this. With yeah, like with this whole podcast, actually, there's going to be a lot of self-reflection involved, even with myself. Like I'm not all together, like I'm not put together, I'm not some, I don't know, like foundation. Well, not yet, at least. um but yeah, there's a lot, and it's important because not only do we lack it, but it's something we really need. I believe that it's something that we as people just really need. Um, yeah, like I said, because we don't really do it enough, right? Like we don't think outside of our situation, outside of our circumstances, and see how things could be a lot worse. How life could literally be a lot worse than what it truly is. Um, and yeah, like being open minded and having that perspective is it literally, oh man, I don't know how else to say than it being like, like then it going hand in hand. Like it's literally, it's so connected. And yeah, there's like not much else for me to say with that. But yeah, you'd have to be open minded to kind of realize that like life is very different. It could have been very different, where yeah, like life could have been a lot more difficult. Life could have I could have just been born into a family where like a family that lives in poverty. Or like it could go either way, right? Like you could say I could have been born in a family that lived in poverty, or I could have been born into a family that was super super rich with ungodly amount of money. Like yeah, like it could go either way. But I feel like the best way to take that and kind of understand that is to look at life and see how much worse it could have been. Because yeah, life could be a lot worse. Um, and yeah, for me, it makes me feel very, very fortunate, and I will come back to that um, in a later question for this episode. Okay, so why should we practice these things? We should practice these things just because it makes us, I guess, be more real with ourselves and be more in tune with ourselves, and be more grateful. We can be more grateful, and we can be more appreciative of of everything, really. Um, and yeah, like, it does take time to kind of develop that perspective and that open-mindedness. It absolutely takes time. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, right? And yeah, like, for me, oh well, this kind of goes into the next question, which is, what has it done for me in my own life? What has being open-minded and what has perspective done for me in my own life? Yeah, like, for me, it's done so much. It's absolutely done wonders. I talked about a bit of what I've had to go through in my own life in the last episode. But yeah, there was still a lot more that I'm just not willing to share quite yet. Um, but yeah, there's a lot to think about, really, when it comes to these things. And for me, it kind of gave me that, like, sense of clarity. Yeah, because I have a lot of conversations with, like, different kinds of people, and and some people absolutely do have it a lot worse than I do, and some people don't, right? And I'm not trying to, like, cast shade on anyone that has it worse than I do, but or anyone that has it better than I do. Like, it's just, that's just how life is sometimes, right? Like, people have it better and people have it worse. And yeah, like, it was very apparent to me that was the case. And I guess for me in my own life, when I started to understand a lot of these different things, and yeah, like, being open to understanding these different things, like being aware, and yeah, like, accepting it, like accepting that this is how it is. It's made me become it's made me become a better person, to say the least, right? Because yeah, I've just been very thankful. I've been very thankful for the people around me, and I try to let them know as much as I can that I'm very thankful for them and I appreciate them and that I love them. I absolutely don't say it enough, but I know that's something I need to work on, and it's something over time that'll happen. Um, and and yeah, like, I, I'm I realize how much life could have been a lot worse, and yeah, like I said, I'm just really thankful for it. Because yeah, a thing I've been doing recently is, interestingly enough, I've been trying to. Oops, I hit something. I've been trying to meditate, um, and yeah, like, in my meditation, I would think about myself, think about the life that I've lived, the life that I'm living, and I'd be thinking about how fragile life is, and I'd be thinking about how life could have been a lot worse, how life could have been very, very different, how I could have no one in my life, how I could, yeah, be alone and not feel important and not be important and not be able to make an impact on anyone, not have any positive memories, not have any positive moments, not experiencing any of these things. And yeah, like, like thinking about fears and what I need to do to, I guess, push myself forward, or yeah, like a lot of things. Like when I meditate, I think about a lot of these different things, but then kind of settle it down and realize that, yeah, like life is all of this. Life involves all of these different things. And for me to be able to have that like quiet time, and for me to be able to have that peace of mind and know that life is truly not bad at all, because it could be a lot worse. I mean, granted, it could be a lot better, but you can always work towards it being better. It's not like you're working towards life getting worse, right? And yeah, for me, that's kind of where I stand with perspective and open-mindedness. I mean, like, yeah, of course there's other like traits um that need to be learned, and that I have learned, and that I need to continue to apply in my own life. And yeah, but perspective and open-mindedness are two of the more bigger ones, I'd say, because it absolutely just opens you up to a lot of different things. Um, and yeah, like I said, I I've become a lot more thankful, and I'm trying to spend time with a lot of my friends and my family as well. Like I don't spend enough time with my family. I don't think that I ever will spend enough time with my family. Like there's not enough time in the world for me to spend time with my family and for me to spend time with my friends. Like time is so short, and life is so short, in truth, right? Life is really short, and yeah, sometimes we don't realize that. Sometimes we don't realize how limited life is, and how limited time is, and how limited both of those things are for other people as well. So yeah, like having that perspective and having that like way of thinking, that mindset almost, it's yeah, it's made me come to be thankful for a lot of different things. A lot of the people that I'm around, a lot of the experiences that I've had. There's a lot of different things. A lot of different things with this. Um but yeah, like you do have to be careful that it doesn't go in the negative way, because it's so easy to get carried away with certain things and go down the wrong path. Um but yeah, for the next two questions, what could perspective and being open-minded do for you? What could these things do for you in your own life, and what it could do for those around you as well, and other people in your life? Um, yeah. So, what perspective can do for you, and what open-mindedness can do for you? It could do the same thing that it did for me. I mean, we are very different people. We've had different experiences, and so perspective, like I said, perspective and open-mindedness for me made me more thankful, made me more appreciative of the people around me, of the people listening, of everyone and anyone. And it could do the same for you. Like there's always that potential of it doing the same for you, where yeah, where you think about life and understand that life could be a lot worse, and not complain about life, and instead be more thankful that I live, and be thankful that I do feel like important. I do feel loved. I do feel a lot of these different things, but I don't really take it in. I don't really appreciate it. And yeah, that's still something I'm working on personally. And yeah, hopefully it's something that I guess you could learn. Because yeah, it is very valuable. It is very valuable to have have that perspective in life, and have that open-mindedness, and yeah, like being flexible, and all of those different kinds of things that kind of go into open-mindedness and perspective. um so yeah, like it can do a lot of things for you. And and to go on to the next point, it could do a lot for those around you as well, and people in your life, where they can kind of be inspired by you. They can see the the beauty in the life by the way that you live, by the way that you do things in your life. Because I truly believe that everyone has influence over someone, in both positive senses and negative senses. Like everyone has some sort of influence. And yeah, like it's like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people say it, where it's those that are closest to you that would either influence you or that you'd influence. And yeah, I mean, my hope is that when you kind of learn these things, and when I learn these things, that all the positive stuff rubs off on all the people that I'm around, because I absolutely want the best for everyone. And I assume that it's the same for you, where you'd want the best for the people around you, and you'd want the best for everyone, and anyone and everyone around you in your life. Like that's just how it is, right? I feel like that's how it is for most people, where we just want the best for everyone. And yeah, like this is, I feel like, the right way to go, where you got to start with being thankful. You got to start with being appreciative of the people around you, of the life that you live, of the time that you have. Because like I said, time is so short, time is so limited. And you don't really hear it from a 20-year-old. You hear it from people that have families, or people that are like, way older. But of course it's going to be different for people my age, because there's that huge gap of like time where, time doesn't seem so short, or time doesn't seem so quick in passing. Like there's still so much time left, but in truth there really isn't. And yeah, like I said, there's not enough time in the world to make like a million memories with everyone, like time is so short, life is so short. And yeah, like when people realize that you are like that, when people see that I'm like that, like I'm appreciating life, appreciating time, appreciating everyone around me, and truly loving all of these things, like loving the people around me, loving time, loving life, then that could influence those around you. That can rub them the right way, and realize and open their eyes and open their mind. Like it could go in that direction. Like there's always that potential, right? I mean, there is the potential of it going backwards, but it's not even, I wouldn't even know how. I wouldn't even know how it would go backwards for people around you. Unless your like friendship or relationship is built off something really toxic, which is extremely unhealthy, I must say. But yeah, it could do wonders for yourself, and it could do wonders for your own life. Having perspective, having that perspective in life, and being open-minded, it can absolutely do wonders. It can absolutely do wonders in your life and in the lives of other people. And yeah, like there's a lot to this, and I absolutely think that I'll be covering this again in the future. Just as a side note, right? Like there's a lot to this, and yeah, growth is never like it's just a one and done thing. Like it's just over time, and it's constant and consistent. And yeah, so I will be talking about this sometime in the future. Um, just if you wanted to know, but yeah, yeah. There's a lot to this podcast, and yeah, hopefully that everyone takes it in the best way possible, and hopefully someone can learn something from this. Um, hopefully good comes from this. All right, now for the final two questions or final 2 points, I guess. Wow, this episode's really short, huh? All right. So the last two are these. Okay, so how I applied gaining perspective in my own life and being open-minded in my own life, and how you could apply these things in your own life. I guess the right grammar would be how could you apply these in your own life. But man, English isn't a strong point of mine. All right, so let's leave that at that. All right, so yeah, for myself, how did I apply gaining perspective? How did I apply being open-minded? Now, for myself, with perspective, um, it was a lot more difficult, but being open-minded kind of came to me naturally. I was just willing to experience anything and everything and hang around a lot of different people and yeah, explore essentially. I was that kind of came to me naturally. That just curiosity and that willingness to like explore a lot of different things. But yeah, with when it came to gaining perspective, it was really difficult for me. So like I talked about in the second episode, I talked about the shifts in my life, and that's where it mainly started, right? I didn't talk about the fourth shift. I will talk about it in the future though. But yeah, with those different things in my life that happened, as well as like a lot of the other stuff that happened that I'm not going to talk about yet. Um, I had to realize, and I had to look within myself, whether it's truly worth, I guess, complaining about these things that are happening. Is it truly worth feeling negative about a bunch of these different things? And yeah, like how I said, how life could be a lot worse. Like back then, with those shifts that I experienced, I wasn't meditating, but I did experience that like feeling of what would it be like if life was the worst possible thing it could ever be. And yeah, like I said, I gave examples, right? Like being completely alone, being worthless, like having no meaning to anyone, and not having that connection with a lot of different people, not having a lot of different things. Like it mainly involves a lack of a lot of stuff, right? Lack of connection, lack of meaning, lack of purpose, and yeah, like lack of experiences. And when I think about all these things, and when I thought about all these things, about how I'm truly blessed to have lived the life that I live, and yeah, like I all of a sudden became more thankful. I became more grateful for the life that I lived, just because I know it could have been a lot worse. Life absolutely could have been a lot worse. And yeah, it's only when, unfortunately, this is the case, right? It's only when certain things happen. It's only when we're put into a position where we have to confront something that we realize another thing, right? That we kind of grow. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is, but I don't want it to always be that way for people. I don't want people to have to experience something tragic or something horrific for them to realize the beauty in life and how fragile it is. And yeah, like cuz it's always in those like turning points. It's always when we experience something that we kind of make that shift and kind of make that decision, right? And yeah, like I said, I really don't want people to have to experience that to grow. Like, cause you know, you and I can grow without having to experience something horrible. Like, honestly, we we don't have to experience something horrible to grow. But most of the time, that's just what happens, and life just takes us by surprise. And like I said before, sometimes life has to go wrong to go right. And yeah, like there's a lot of different ways to look at this, right? I mean, hence perspective. Um, and yeah, also to make a side note, I won't guarantee that this works for everyone, of course, because we are all different people. But for me, at least, that's how it worked for me, where I was, just having a recollection of my life and understanding and knowing that it's not worth complaining because it could have been a lot worse. And yeah, it made me a lot more thankful, and it made me become a better person. And yeah, like I said, I I began to appreciate everyone around me. I began to appreciate my family a lot more and understand where they're at in terms of their headspace, their mindset, and understand what they were going through in their own lives. And likewise, yeah, like with my parents, with my brother, um, and yeah, like this also applies to a lot of my friends, like the friends I talk to on either a regular basis or not a regular basis. Like I've got a lot of friends that have experienced a lot of different things in life, and yeah, like it's I don't know. There's something so like interesting about it. How we all experience different things and we can all learn from each other that way. And yeah, like life is truly beautiful. And for the last point, how could you apply these things in your own life? Well, first of all, it'll be different for you, right? You're in different circumstances, you're in a different position in your own life. And so I won't guarantee that it works, but I'd say at least give it a try in terms of looking at yourself and looking at your life as a whole. And then kind of breaking it down and then looking at your life in certain chunks and kind of remembering all the good and all the bad memories that you had. And then realizing that your life could have been a lot worse. Realizing that you could have been alone in your entire life. You could have meant nothing to anyone. You could have lived a life in complete solitude, just completely alone. And yeah, like you could have lived a life without meaning. You could have lived a life without purpose. You could have lived a life with no connection whatsoever. And then kind of, realizing that life could have been that way, because it absolutely could be that way. And there are people out there in this world that live that life. As sad as it is, it's just the truth. People live that life, and it's so heartbreaking to think about that people do live a life with no connection. People do live a life without meaning. People live a life without purpose. It's really sad to think about. It really is. It's man, it really gets to me. But yeah, like making that conscious decision that and that awareness, having that awareness of knowing that life could have been like this. There are so many people on this planet that live like that. I mean, like I said, this might not work for you. This might. It could go either way, honestly. But yeah, I think starting from there, like that'll probably get you on the track to having perspective and being open minded. Well, that's mainly on the perspective side of things. But in terms of like for open mindedness, you just have to get out of your comfort zone, experience a lot of different things. It's hard, like it really is. And it's yeah, like I said, it's not easy. It's not easy to even step a little bit outside of your comfort zone. But I mean, for me and the way I see it, I kind of need to. For me, I need to step out of my comfort zone, even though it makes me uncomfortable, right? I have to, because if I'm trying to achieve like a lot in my life, if I'm trying to live the life that I kind of envision, like the ideal life as a person, and like having a family and stuff, when I think about it, like where I want to be versus where I am right now, I absolutely have to go outside of my comfort zone. And I'm more afraid of not reaching that than going outside of my comfort zone. Like, how scary is it? I talked about this in the second episode about like fulfillment, right? Like, if you're on your deathbed and you're just living an unfulfilled life. For me, that is more scary than taking a step outside of my comfort zone. Like, I will absolutely take a step outside of my comfort zone than live an unfulfilling life. And yeah, like there's a lot to go through with all of this. And yeah, it starts with you. It starts with you looking at yourself, looking at who you are, who you want to be, your ideal you, your best version of yourself. At least the best version of yourself that you can bring out right now. And yeah, it's going to be on you and only on you. It's going to be on you to make that decision, to have that awareness that I'm not the version of myself that I want to be, or I'm not the best version of myself. And you got to take that step into making that change. And it absolutely starts with perspective and open-mindedness, because perspective makes you realize that you're not exactly who you want to be. You can view yourself in that way, where yeah, I'm not where I want to be in life, or I'm not who I want to be in life, and I'm not anywhere close to it. And yeah, you'd need to have some sense of being open-minded in order to kind of realize that as well. And yeah, like that willingness to know that, as well as the willingness to make that effort and taking those steps. Yeah, like all of these things, they start with you. Likewise, it started with me. And I chose to make the step in this direction. I chose to start this podcast. I chose to reach out to a lot of different people. I chose this life. And I mean, honestly, so far, I've been really enjoying this. This past couple of months, these past couple of weeks, my life has just been a lot different, let's say. A lot of different experiences recently. And yeah, sometimes life just works out, right? Sometimes it just happens. And there's another point that I was going to kind of tie into this, but I realized that I'll save it for the future. I'll save it for the future, and who knows? Maybe it's something that is relatable, or maybe it's something that isn't. But yeah, a lot to recap. I'll just give a quick one though. So I kind of went through what perspective is and what being open-minded is. I went through what it means in life to have those things and to be those things, and why it's important. I go through why we should practice it, why we should practice having perspective and practice being open-minded. And yeah, I talk about what it's done for me in my own life. I talk about the potential it could do for you, as well as the potential it could do for other people in your life and others around you. I talked about how I applied it in my own life and how you could apply it in your own as well. But yeah, so there's a lot to this. Honestly, I thought that these set of questions would be dragging out a lot longer, but you know what? 40-ish minutes, not bad at all for like, I don't know how many questions, like 10 or something. But you know what? That's fine. I do plan on talking about this again in the future. I don't know how long though, or how long into the future, or how later down the track. It'll come around eventually, right? It'll reach full circle. But yeah, so that was this episode. Sorry, I'll apologize if it wasn't clear, or if it was like too fast or something. But yeah, there's still a lot for me to talk about with a lot of these different things, a lot of these different topics and subjects, and yeah, hopefully whoever you are, and you know, like whatever you're doing, hopefully you can benefit from this. Yeah, there's so much potential to benefit from this. At least there's so much understanding that can come out of this, and so many experiences and connections that can come out of this. And I'm truly amazed by this whole thing of podcasting. And yeah, like there's heaps to do, there's heaps to say, there's heaps to experience, there's a lot of different people to connect to, and yeah, and I love it. I love this. This is great. And yeah, I think it's a good time for me to call it an end for this episode. Call it quits for this episode. And okay, all right. Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, the third episode of this podcast, I might say. And yeah, like before you know it, time will go so quick. I'll be putting out a lot more episodes on a more regular basis. I hope to be putting stuff out every Saturday, but we'll see. Yeah, so I'll be leaving a lot of links in the description. Feel free to follow me, or feel free to check some stuff out. I think I'll be leaving Instagram, Discord, Twitter, and the Patreon. Yeah, feel free to support me, feel free to follow me, feel free to join the Discord. There's certain text channels that are there for you guys to give me feedback if you feel like you want to give me feedback, or you could just hit me up on Instagram or something, on either my personal or on the Core Growth Podcast Instagram. But yeah, with all that being said and done, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I love you all. Take care, and goodbye. Hello, this is post-edit Aaron here. I just wanted to have a quick word, and I wanted to say thanks. I wanted to say thanks for all the support, all the positive feedback, and all the encouragement that you guys have been giving me. Truly means a lot to me. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that and make that clear. And anyways, as I said, I'd be leaving a lot of links in the description. Feel free to check it out. You don't have to, of course. But yeah, with all that being said and done, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I love you all. Take care, and goodbye.